Kitzer Aleph, Me'Hashem, Ishish Beis Hashpos. So it was explained that the sun has two types of flow, chitzonius, an external flow, mimegetfus shomesh, which is like what the produce comes from, upnimis, and you have an inner flow, yichud shimsha b'siyara, the union of the sun with the moon, v'nikra yisod ha'ibur, and it's called the secret of the pregnancy, even though that's the concept of the ibur is the name for the moon, the renewal of the moon. And this, that the nations count and have a solar calendar, it's this external flow, free from the mitzvos, but in order to get the inner flow, that's through our counting our calendar through the moon, because we are the smallest among the nations, meaning to say that we humble ourselves, and through our bittul we draw down the inner flow. It's the Mayin Nukvin. We name it Sarash Bazu Hachitzonius Mashemesh. Now the Tzemach Tzedek in this Kitzer is Masbir, another Inyan. Now from this flow, this external flow from the sun, Ne'amar Ein Kol Chadash Tachas HaShemesh, it says there's nothing new under the sun, Mash'ein Ken Hashpazu Apnimis, which is not the case with this inner flow, or Chadash. It's a new light from the sun. That's why it's called the head of the month, because it's a new light. U'b'medrash Rabba Parshas Beraishis Parsha Vav Derech Eretz Shei Hagadol Moneh L'Gadol V'Akatan Moneh L'Katan. So it says in Medrash that the way of the world is that the big one counts for the big one, and the small one counts the small one. Esav Moneh L'Chama Shehi Gdola. Esav counts to the sun that it's bigger. Yaakov Moneh L'Levana, and Yaakov counts according to the moon, Shiktana, which is smaller. Amar Rabbi Nachman, so Rabbi Nachman says, V'simin Tav Chulu, that this is a good sign. Shal Levana Sholetis Balaylu Bayom Chulu Ein Shom, because the moon rules in the nighttime and in the daytime. Whereas the sun is only during the day. And according to this, we can awaken you to what it says in Torah, or that the shell came before the fruit. That receives from the concept of the great countenance, and that's the Esav, that's the Klippa that it gets from Erech HaPayim, that's good both to the bad and the good. And it's called the big sun, Ki Olam HaTohu Kadam Chulu, because the world of Tohu comes before the Olam HaTikun of Yaakov, and that's why they have riches and honor, that doesn't make sense according to the if you work out who's meritorious and so forth. Mash'en Ken Yaakov, which is not the case with Yaakov, that receives his life from the light of the countenance of Havaya Amir, it shines through wisdom. Look over there in the Maamer. And this, that it says in the Maamer that a man grappled with him, with Esav fighting with Yaakov, with the concept of if you lift yourself up like an eagle, that's said about Esav and Edom in Ovadia. that the Maimers, that the Alter Rebbe explains the inyan of that Esav lifts himself up high in order to reach from again the Makif. Vini Hashemesh Nikra Hamaru Hagadol. Now the sun is called the great luminary Shemekabel Mimichinis Gadol Havaya. It receives from the concept of Hashem's greatness, Veligdullah, so in Cheker, and to his greatness there is no end. Kefi Shemeir Lamaylamat Simtsum, as it shines beyond the Simtsum, Alkein Nikra Hamar Hagadol. That's why it's called the great luminary, meaning beyond the Simtsum. That's why the sun does not change, meaning to say in size like the moon, and constantly shines the same. V'zehu shemonim l'shemesh, meaning to say it's not dependent upon the deeds of the nations, like the moon waxes and wanes, and that seemingly corresponds with the righteousness or the ups and downs of the Jewish nation. And that's that they count according to the sun. That is to say that they lift themselves up like an eagle to receive from this level of that Hashem is beyond all, above all the nations. That is to say, that which is beyond the tzimtzum, like it says in the Maamar about with you is the source of life. Or, but the moon has the lessening of light. It's called the small luminary. This hints to the attributes that flow through a conduit, meaning to say to a specific spot, not to everybody equally. Like it says there in the Maamars, that's why Yaakov is called the small son. Therefore, as I just said, Tzadikim Yikro al Shmecha, that the righteous will be called by your name, David Huakatan, that it says by David that he's the small one, meaning to say that the moon, it was told that the righteous will be called upon your name, therefore David was called small like the moon. V'simin davar, and the sign for this is in the Torah, Rivka oheves Yaakov, that Rivka loved Yaakov, the small one. Meaning to say that the conduit should go to Yaakov, and Esav wanted to receive directly from the Makif, meaning to say directly through Yitzchak, and not go through Rivka, who was the conduit, the receptacle to Yitzchak. And it's known that Yitzchak and Rivka are Za'anukva, Heim Dugmas Chama Ulavana. They are in the likeness of the sun and the moon. So Esav wanted to receive directly from the sun, from Yaakov, and not the light of the moon. V'zeu Maimer Rav Nachman, who Siman Tav. That's why Rav Nachman says that it's a good sign. That they receive, that the nations receive from the concept of the long countenance. That's actually a way of hiding it, because it's from the Makif and it doesn't come in a Panimi, like it says there in the Pasuk, that Hashem withholds the light, the from the wicked their light. Im Shikail or Haganuz. Even if this refers to the hidden light, Mikol Makom Gam Mebichinas Shemesh Mekablim Rak Chitzonius, but nonetheless, also from the sun itself, they receive only an external Masha'enkin Le'osiritzono, which is not the case with those who do Hashem's will. Al Achas Kama V'Kama, how much more so that we receive through the moon, from the inner light of the sun, from the union of the sun and the moon. And also from the hidden light that's beyond the sun. Look over there about that concept of the Or HaGanuz. Look what it says in Charvos Tzurim about the sun should be silent in Givon, that the orb and the sheath of the sun, Misham Mishem Elokim, that's from the name Elokim. That's where the nations receive their flow from. Yoshua the Momo and Yoshua, so that's the Cham, Admas B'nei Cham. The Chama is the 48 Sirufim of Elokim that goes to Admas B'nei Cham, so to speak. That's the Hashpah from the sun. So Yoshua the Momo and Yoshua silent stitch Lo Yisoviv Al Yedei HaGalgal V'Anartik, that it should not turn through its orbit and its sheath, meaning to say that it shouldn't give the flow to the of the Kochavim Mazalos. And once you're not giving the external hashpah anymore, then the inner hashpah still continues and goes to Israel. Israel, and the proof is that in the time to come, that when the Holy One, blessed be He, takes out the sun of its sheath, the righteous alone will be able to receive. Like our sages said on the verse, that those who love Him are like the sun when it comes out in its strength and so forth, and that tzaddikim mirapin ba and rashaim nidonin ba, that the righteous are healed and the wicked are judged in it, even though he doesn't say that here. And that's what it says, that the countenance of Moshe is like the countenance of the sun. We have shalom, and we can say shizeh perush l'shemesh sam oil bahem, and that the verse that says to the sun He placed a tent in it, and it is like the groom yotzei michupaso, that comes out from his chuppah, from his wedding canopy. That is, the tent is the encompassing external flow of the sun, mehashemesh, that goes to the nations. He placed a tent around them. And he is like the groom, that refers to the inner flow, which is called the union of the sun and the moon. You can further understand the concept of that Israel counts in accordance with the moon, with what the Ramban said, B'Pirush HaChumash, B'Parshas Vayeshev, Gabi Zerach U'Paretz. That, I guess, Zerach and Paretz is like the sun and the moon. And Ben Partzi, that Mashiach comes from, is I guess, like the moon. And Zarach is from the language of to shine, like the sun. But you'd have to look inside over there. But Yishlomar, we can say in another way, that in another place it's explained, that the sun shines on its own without changes. And that's the concept of an arousal from above without the arousal from below. Meaning to say that there's no halas man, there's no effort from below. Like you said before, chinam below mitzvahs. V'yesh b'zachitzoni supnimis. And so that's the concept of the sun, that it gives a flow from above without the arousal from below. But there's an external concept in this and an internal concept in this. I guess the inner concept is that it's beyond the Isrus al-Lasata. And the lower concept, the Chitzonis, is that it's without Isrus al-Lasata. Valavanahi Isrus al-Lasata, and the moon itself is the arousal from below, order Isrus al-Ela, to awaken arousal from above. And that's the concept of the countenance of Moshe as the sun, and the countenance of Yoshua as the moon. But the concept of Moshe, that's an inner flow from the sun, like we said, it's the pnimis, omnam, masha ovdiku chavi, munin l'chama, that the nations of the world count in accordance with the sun. That is to get this external flow from this arousal from above that does not have this arousal from below at all. The fish that we ate in Egypt, free, meaning to say free without mitzvahs, and that's the concept of Mitzrayim, of the nations of Yisrael. But Yisrael counts in accordance with the moon, bitul, to have this arousal from below, this nullification. And then you'll draw from the sun the arousal from above that comes from the arousal from below, which is more inner. V'lo chitzonis levad, and not only external. V'gam achar kach yumshach b'chinas isrusid le'ela shalamaylim isrusid l'sata, and also afterwards you'll draw down the arousal from above that's beyond the arousal from below. Gam kin apnimis mod naila, also the inner concept, very high, meaning to say beyond. V'zoal derech isha mazras tchila, and that's the concept of if the woman is aroused first, which is the concept of counting to the moon, then she gives birth to a male, which is not the case if the man is aroused first. That's a likeness of an arousal of above without having first the arousal from below. Yoledis Nekeva gives birth to the female, meaning to say the masculine and the feminine corresponds here with the inner flow and the external flow. B'medrash Rabbah, Parshas Bo, Suf Parshat Ezvav, Daf Kuf Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, Ukashem Shalavana Hishal Or, that it says in Medrash Rabbah that just like the moon is of light, Kach Yisrael Nochlin HaOr, so to Yisrael inherits the light. Shenemar Or Zaru Ala Tzadik Chulul, like it says that the righteous, a light is sown for the righteous. When it says, come and get up and shine, because your light has come. Yishlomar, we can say in explaining these psukim, that like we explained before, that through this that we count with the moon, this refers to the revelation of the hidden light, that or Zerul Tzadik, and the Kumi Uri it refers to the hidden light, the Or Haganus, that's beyond the level of the sun, and that's what's hinted to in this light that goes to Israel. V'ayim b'zor chilek aleph parshas Vayechi, daf reish lamed vav, suf amud beis al pasuk Yehuda Ata.